Kostya jolted awake and opened his eyes. The dream evaporated, leaving behind an aching feeling of the unknown and a burning need to understand. He could no longer lie there and guess. Without thinking, he pulled on his quilted jacket, hat, and went out into the night. The air hit his face with a prickly, burning cold. The streets were deserted and silent. The snow crunched underfoot, and the sound seemed incredibly loud in the absolute stillness. He walked toward that same large house on the outskirts, the one covered in carved signs. His footsteps were the only violation of this silence. Suddenly, on the edge of a clearing, illuminated by the full, almost unnaturally bright moon, a shadow flickered. Not white, but gray, fast. An elusive movement deep in the forest. Without a second thought, Kostya stepped off the packed road into the snow and moved toward the mystery. He trudged knee-deep in snow, his eyes fixed on the flickering shadows ahead. They led him deeper, away from the village, to where ancient fir trees formed an impenetrable wall. And soon he heard sounds, not music, but a low, monotonous drone, as if dozens of voices were holding a single strange note. He emerged into a small clearing hidden deep in the thicket, and he froze, paralyzed by icy terror. In complete silence, broken only by that hypnotic hum, about 20 residents of Omut stood in a tight circle, all dressed in dark, plain clothes. In the center of the circle, on a flat, dark boulder resembling an altar, lay a dark, motionless figure, tightly bound with ropes made of bast. Around the stone, on the white snow, dark, almost black droplets and stains stood out sharply. The air was heavy and thick, strangely mingling the smells of smoke, bitter herbs, and something coppery, cloyingly sweet, the scent of death. But the most terrifying thing was happening around and above the boulder. The air above the stone shimmered and melted, like over a hot skillet. In this haze, shadows woven from nothingness coalesced and dissolved outlines of giant horns, clawed paws, eyes burning with a cold green light. It seemed as if the darkness itself was coming alive and reaching for the altar. Around the people, at the very edge of the circle, ghostly sprouts broke through the snow and instantly froze in the frost blue, translucent stems with black buds that slowly turned toward the moon. And from the bodies of the ritual participants, pale threads of light stretched toward the center, weaving into the shimmering haze above the altar, feeding it. At the head of the circle, standing with his back to Kostya, was a tall figure in a long, dark robe with a hood. The robed figure's arms were raised to the moon, and from his fingers emanated the same ghostly light. The people in the circle swayed in time with their droning. Some beat simple skin-covered drums. Others dragged sticks along the notched edges of wooden objects, producing a grating sound. This was no celebration. This was an ancient ritual, its power visible to the naked eye. This was magic, real and terrifying. Pure animal horror struck Kostya in the chest. Instinctively, very slowly, trying not to make a sound, he began to back away, wanting only one thing: to run, to hide, to not see this. His gaze was glued to the witchcraft unfolding before him. Not watching his feet, backing through the snow, his foot found emptiness under the crust. There was a quiet crunch. The snow gave way, and with a short, stifled cry, he tumbled down into the darkness. The fall was short, but painful. He landed on his back against something soft and lay still, trying to catch his breath, his heart pounding in his throat. From above, as if from another world, the same droning continued. His fall had gone unnoticed. When his eyes adjusted to the dark, he gasped. He was sitting at the bottom of a small sinkhole, a narrow entrance to a cave, and the walls around him were covered in drawings. Scratched, painted with ochre, carved into the stone. spirals just like on the village houses, stylized figures of people and animals, hunting scenes. And further in, where a narrow passage led deeper into the cave, the drawings became stranger creatures with bird heads, people with branches instead of arms, huge bear-like shadows. And everywhere that same symbol, an eye at the center of intertwined branches. But this wasn't just the history of Omut. The scenes shifted, stretching back millennia here. Primitive hunters with spears drove a mammoth, and then a ship made of ice sailed on black water under strange stars here. Cities of crystal crumbled under the assault of giants, in ice armor creatures like trees striding across a plain, and through it all the same symbol, the eye, observing the passage of time. The air in the cave was still and stale, smelling of damp stone, ancient dust, and something else, a faint but persistent scent of ozone and resin, like after a thunderstorm in a coniferous forest. This place breathed its own, slowed down life. The silence here was dense, saturated. He took a step deeper, running his fingers over the rough stone surface. Under his touch, the ancient symbols seemed to come alive. He imagined he heard a faint hum emanating from the very depths of the cave. The air became electrified. It seemed the darkness itself was pulsating to this inaudible rhythm. With each new image, Kostya felt something shift inside him, sprouting. It wasn't a thought, but a sensation, a deep, animal memory. He began to feel the patterns, the spiral infinity. The intertwined branches, the connection of all things. The eye, awareness. He placed his palm on the last image, a giant eye. The stone under his fingers was surprisingly warm. The moment his palm touched the stone, Kostya's consciousness went dark. The world swam, shattered into pieces, and reassembled, bright, hot, cruel. He was no longer Kostya. His body was foreign, hardened in battle, covered in scars, his knees pressed against sun-scorched stone under a blazing sun. Around him, in a tight ring, stood giants of light and shadow. Not men, not gods, but powers, ancient as the stone itself. Their faces constantly shifted. The air trembled with the power emanating from them. One of the titans raised its hand. A luminary ignited within it, a clot of pure primordial life, of understanding. Accept and remember, a voice boomed, coming from the very earth, sky, and air. You are the border keeper, the guardian of the threshold. Your blood is the key. Your will is the lock. You will maintain the balance. Power flooded into him like a waterfall of fire and ice. He saw everything, the threads connecting the world, the currents of force running through the earth's veins. The secret of the universe unfolded before him. At that moment, something rough and relentless grabbed his shoulders. The vision cracked and crumbled. He was yanked so hard his shoulders nearly dislocated. Pain shot through his body. He was dragged across the uneven cave floor. The blinding light of the winter morning burst through the opening. He was thrown out and dumped onto the snow. Two men stood over him. The grim driver of the Bukanka van, his face twisted with rage, and a silent, stocky man. Their eyes were full of anger and fear. Why did you go poking around, outsider? Who gave you permission? They grabbed him again, dragged him across the clearing. Kostya saw a second boulder, hidden in the shadow of the trees. On its surface were deep indentations, like impressions from many bodies. Kostya's heart hammered wildly. He understood their intention. At that moment, Aristarch emerged from behind the trees. His face was tired and focused. Put him down, the old man said quietly. They threw him onto the cold stone. They drew their knives. Kostya squeezed his eyes shut. But at the moment the blades were raised, the air thickened. The knives froze in place, as if hitting an invisible wall. The men's arms trembled but couldn't move. The very boulder beneath Kostya seemed to sigh, and a vibration ran across its surface. From the ancient grooves in the stone, a pale light weakly streamed forth. The light enveloped him, warm, almost alive. Everyone froze. Aristarch slowly approached. "Release him. Lower your weapons." The men recoiled. The knives clattered onto the snow. "The power, it did not reject him," Aristarch said, and his voice held reverence. "It accepted him. It protected him." He turned to Kostya. "Get up, son. It seems we were blind. The Taiga itself has chosen you. You are not an outsider. You are the chosen one." Aristarch helped him up. Kostya's legs were weak. The old man didn't let go of his hand. "You thought you were just running away from your life, didn't you? Number, the Taiga called you. It always calls those it needs. You have stepped into our history. You have touched a power older than our oldest legends. It has acknowledged you. You are a part of us now, Kostya, and you will not be able to leave. Omut will pull you back. Longing will gnaw at your heart until you return. You have many more secrets to learn, both terrible and beautiful. You will understand the price of the power that flows in these lands, and the price we pay to contain it." The old man released his hand and gave him a slight push toward the village. "Go. Warm up. Come to me at sunset. We must begin immediately. There's no time to waste. You have much to catch up on." Kostya stood, unable to move. He felt something click inside, like an invisible door slamming shut behind him, cutting off the path to his old life. He looked at his palm, the one that had touched the eye in the cave. It was still warm. He took his first step toward his izba, toward his new home, toward his new, incredible, and frightening fate. The path back was closed for good.